In my first life, I was a sage by the name of Narada. My name widely famed for my philosophical game, as translation of ancient Vedic texts came so easily to my skinny frame that I could spit game with even the wisest who came to hear the same words they read explained. And such was my acclaim that the Lord of the Three Plains invited me to listen and learn and talk and laugh, and I don't know how long we sat, but finally he asked of me to ask of him the question that I had been asked and unable to answer. My dear Lord, I said, I've heard many times about this thing called Maya, but I admit I have never understood it. Please, can you tell me, what is Maya? And the sweet Lord set his soft hand on my shoulder and said, Of course, O Narada, of course, but here my voice has gone hoarse. Please fetch me a glass of water before we resume this course. And so I stood up, eyes bright, for who wouldn't love to labor for the Lord? And besides, my own insides were dry, my limbs looking forward to a little limbering. So I dropped on down to the ground in search of a small town, and as I cleared the edge of a clearing, I saw it, the shape of a woman's shoulders, shouldering the weight of water, pulling that sweet satisfaction out of a well. And I stood agape as the bucket appeared, and tucking a slight tress behind her ear, she looked up and saw me seeing, and then saw me and smiled. Such a sweet smile, so simply sentient, harbored in here. I paired my palms and said my salam and requested a quenching cup of that sweet satisfaction, and she lifted a sip to my lips, and I swear never I swear in my many lives have I tasted anything so sublime. She asked where from I had come, and I pointed down the lane and inquired the same, and we just became lost like that in a game of mutual musical discovery, such that when her father came, it seemed so natural to ask whether I could marry his daughter. And his eyes met her gaze, and she gave the okay, but he said that even this great sage would need to live with a wage in order for him to give this girl away, and though untrained, I trusted that I could take on a trade. In turn, he promised me that he would pass me his profession if I proved myself proficient, and so I labored with love, out under the sun each night, my body exhausted but my spirit exalted. I grew one day closer to be wedding my beloved, and with enough toil and time, I attained my intention, a small sack of silver, enough to pay my way to paradise. And I wed my wife that weekend under the stars. A year later, the pearl of my parable, my first little girl, Atma, was born, and I knew she was my soul. And these leading ladies in my life, they did not need a lot, but I needed to give them everything. I worked hard to grow our little farm, from one hut to two, from a field to a dozen, from a home to a whole lot more. And I can say truly that I have known no better days than those. And then one day, it started raining, and raining, and raining. Very beautifully, you might say, but those cool lines of gray, they just never faded away. We could hear it from the house when the dam gave out, and we could see through the window that wall of water. And I knew we had but one hope, which was the roof, and we ran. And I held my wife and daughter close to my heart as the water overwhelmed our home. It pushed, and it pushed, and it pushed, and crack, a sound I still hear now in my dreams. I remember choking in cold water and fighting the foams to find fresh air, and in that minuscule moment that bade me a breath before the current crushed me back under, I saw my brilliant beloved embracing a floating bookcase bearing my daughter. And I was so sure that they would survive, so sure that they would make it, that I found the strength to find the surface, only to find that they were gone. I was found by a fisherman. He pulled me into his boat, and he pushed the pool out of my lungs. And upon finding free air again, I knew what I had lost, and it was everything. And I sat on the hull of this man's home, choking and weeping and screaming with the sweat and salt and tears of every single one of those 13 years. And he set his soft hand on my shoulder, and I looked up to find myself still sitting with the Lord, who was gently explaining to me, "Oh, Narada, this is Maya."